I would hate to use a word like this, but I have to ask you. The Black Beast, man, the dude who's an absolute killer in the heavyweight division, the UFC's knockout king, he just accepted a fight, or they say the fight is in the works, but I'm pretty sure he's accepted the fight against Bam Bam Tuivasa, man. This is UFC 271 in Houston. And the reason why I asked this question is simply because how quickly the fight's taking place, so the man is being active, but also him fighting in Houston again. So clearly his last time out in Houston, he loses via fourth round TKO stoppage to Cyril Gane in the interim heavyweight championship. He said, how do I put this, AJ? So I don't want to say anything crazy, but Derrick Lewis, I don't know if you've listened to some of his interviews that he's put, but he's kind of made a few excuses about his performance. And I don't want to call it an excuse, but when you say, I just wasn't feeling right, all the pressure, people asking for tickets, all of that stuff, I didn't have it that night. Instead of just being like, listen, man, Gane was the better man that night. That's just, clearly that's what the case. That's what the result was. But it looks like there's one of two theories, and these are my theories. First theory is that Derrick Lewis is officially become a gatekeeper, and he just has to fight the middle of the pack because clearly there is a separation between Francis Ngannou, Stipe Miocic, Cyril Gane, and then the rest of the division, right? So if you can't beat those top three guys, it's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You're still top 5 in the fucking world. Like, you're in the world, you know what I'm saying? So you're fighting these other dudes, and you're kind of fighting those middle-of-the-pack dudes. He says he doesn't want to take these 5-round fights, so you don't want to fight for the title. You just want to make your money, do your thing, man. There's no shame in that. Theory number 2. He is actively looking to get a championship shot once again. He wants to fight Stipe and all that, but he wants to kind of repent for the performance that he put on, in his last outing against Cyril Gane. So that's the question to you, AJ. What theory are you rolling with? What theory do you believe? Either he is the newfound heavyweight gatekeeper, or he's saying, listen, man, I got to make up for what I did in Houston. We're going to redo this event, and I'm going to come out victorious in my hometown. What do you think?
Man, I'm leaning a little bit more towards gatekeeper, and I feel like Derrick Lewis kind of put himself in that situation with him saying that he doesn't want 5-round fights. He only wants 3 rounds. He wants to make his money real quick and get it going. But if he was smart and he wanted those 5-round fights, just knock him out in the first round. Either way, you don't have to finish the last 4. I feel like he's getting more and more accustomed to that kind of a gatekeeper role where he wants to fight the younger dudes, the dudes that are up and coming. Because you're right, there's a massive drop off from number 1 through number 5, and then the rest of the heavyweight division. We've seen a lot of those dudes get real close and then fall off once you meet the Derrick Lewis's, the Francis Ngannou's, all those top echelon fighters that are up there. I feel like Derrick Lewis, and I hate to say he's a gatekeeper because I feel like he hasn't had enough of those fights yet to solidify himself as a gatekeeper, but he's headed that direction pretty soon, man. He's the way he likes to fight, the rounds he likes to choose, and the way he's talking about it, I feel like that's leaning a little bit more towards gatekeeper status. But at the same point, man, he's a man. That pride is there, that ego is there, and you definitely want to get one back in front of the hometown homies. So I feel a little bit more. There's probably a little bit of both going on there. Yeah. But I'm leaning a little bit more towards gatekeeper. What about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear you. Let's look at his record over here, man. Since fighting Francis Ngannou, which was obviously one of the most controversial fights in the heavyweight division's history because of how boring it was, how inactive or inconclusive it was, he got the win against Ngannou. He beats Volkov, knocks him out in that 3rd round. But that was that one fight, right, where he was losing 99% of the fight until he won, right? Loses against DC, loses against JDS, beats Ivanov, beats Latifi, beats Olenek, beats Blades, loses to Gane, beats Dawkins. He's beat everybody else, brother. Like, that's the tough part. That's why you have to consider him a gatekeeper, because everybody else is lost. Now, when we're looking at UFC rankings, you got Gane, who's number 1 interim. Obviously interesting because he has surpassed Stipe Miocic, even though I do believe Stipe should be the rightful number 1 contender. Last loss was to Francis Ngannou. Like, how are you not number 1? But then when you got Derrick Lewis at 3, Curtis Blades, Volkov, Rosenstruck, Dawkins, Abdurakhimov, I mean, let's be honest, AJ. Can you name anybody from number 4 to number 15 here that could beat Derrick Lewis right now?
Ooh. Give Tom Aspinall maybe a couple years and for sure, but
I'm on that board. I'm already on that train. But
nah, man, that's where I think the drop off happens, man. Right after that number 4 slot, It's really hard, man, because not only is Derrick Lewis Francis Ngannou improving, but he can touch you. He has that death touch, He has that whatever the death touch is called, but he's also getting improved on his ground game skills, man. So there's a lot of where I would say that they can take him down and control him. Not anymore.
No. So, I mean, it's tough, man. So it's just tough in this situation. Like I said, I think that Derrick Lewis probably in that gatekeeper status, even though I would love for the case to truly just be like, I just want to get one back in Houston. It is what it is. But if you're not willing to take the 5-round fights and you're just looking for the money fights, Bam Bam, I feel like that's a money fight, even though I feel like maybe. Am I wrong on this situation? Obviously, it's hard because we're so entrenched in the sport. We know who all these people are. And sometimes I don't have that backbone of like, let me talk to my homeboy who doesn't really watch the UFC, but just knows a couple fighters. Because obviously it's like, oh, Conor McGregor, Francis Ngannou was kind of like, do you know that guy, that big African dude, But I wonder how many casual fans know Bam Bam and tune in for Bam Bam. Just like at UFC 269, people weren't necessarily saying, oh man, are you hyped to see that Oliveira versus Poirier fight? They're really saying like, dude, Sean O'Malley's fighting on this card, So it's like, oh, okay, that's whose popularity. No, like no disrespect. Like that's whose popularity you cool. That's who you like. That was the same situation with Conor McGregor. How many people do you think know Bam Bam Tuivasa, or like, oh fuck, I'm ready to see a shoey? Like how many people are like that hyped up? What do you think?
I don't think that many people know his name, but I do think a lot of people know that dude that knocks people out and drinks shoeys on the way out.
Yeah.
I think that's like the media hype that's going on him. Maybe not that people know him, or maybe they just know him as Bam Bam. That Bam Bam dude that knocks people out and does shoeys. I feel like that's a little bit more relegated to the casuals, where not many of them actually know him by name.
Well, if they don't, they will after this Derrick Lewis fight, win or loss, just because that's how exciting these two dudes are in terms of just pure out violence, So I think this is a huge step up in competition for Tai Tuivasa. I really don't know if he's ready for this fight, but clearly we'll preview that when the time comes. This one was more just a retrospective of Derrick Lewis's career and saying like, okay, you fought everybody there is to fight, and now you're fighting number. What is Tuivasa even ranked? Let me look at it. Tuivasa is ranked number 11. So this is the same situation with the RDA versus Fiziev, except this is even worse because Derrick Lewis is number 3. Number 3 versus number 11. Tell me that makes sense in any other division in the UFC. Tell me that it makes sense in boxing. Tell me that makes sense in any sport.
In any sport at all, nah.
It doesn't. So it's just one of those things it's interesting to see, but